Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Let me know in the comments if you would. I've switched microphones, so I'm not totally sure if it's working. But we have a packed lineup tonight that shows how AI is moving faster than most people realize. We're going to start with a major shift in healthcare. Doctors across the country are now using AI to record patient visits. They claim it saves hours of paperwork. Patients aren't sure how they feel about being recorded by a machine. And now I have actually dealt with this before. This is why I found this story was interesting. But I'm going to break down the benefits, the risks, and what this means for the future of medicine. And then also, we'll get into an alcohol company who's saying that their next Super Bowl commercial is going to be created entirely by AI. The script, the visuals, and the final production will all be generated by artificial intelligence. So, this may be the real test on how far AI can go in mainstream advertising. We certainly are seeing a lot of stuff in social media that it's really hard now to tell between reality and what's fake. And then we're going to move to hurricane forecasting this year. Some experts say the most accurate prediction for the 2025 season came from AI and not from human forecasters. Some meteorologists welcome the help, and others are warning that a single wrong model could shatter public trust. Then I'm going to show you what the AI got right and what it could mean for future storms. And then we're also going to cover a financial analyst who says the AI boom is showing 4 classic signs of a bubble. He says we have seen these warning signs in every major tech cycle, and I'm going to walk through his evidence and look at whether this is a bubble or just the beginning. And finally, we're going to look at the news media, which is also changing due to AI, and more newsrooms are becoming part of the AI system. Some are using AI to draft stories, some are using AI to monitor trends, and others fear AI will hollow out journalism completely. I think they've already done that to themselves. AI hasn't done that. It's been the distrust of many in journalism that's caused that problem, but we'll get into that and how it's changing how information is created and delivered around the world. So we'll be getting into all of that tonight regarding AI. And if you want to support the show, please go into the description area and you can send super chats to superchatme.com. That link is in the description. Every contribution helps the channel grow. Make sure you like the stream so more people can find it as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first story is how doctors are now using AI to record patient visits. And this particular story is in Philadelphia at Temple University. And they talk about this new generative AI tool that's increasingly present during doctors' visits in the Philadelphia region. Now, I found this interesting because I've dealt with this myself. And I now, having to visit doctors quite frequently, I'm noticing now they just recently said you have to sign a document that says, is it okay that we use AI to record the conversation? And I've actually had doctors where they've come into the office and had somebody assist them taking notes. I'm not sure if it was AI or not, but they had somebody assisting them so the doctor could really pay attention to the patient. But it listens, it takes notes, it summarizes key points after each visit. And the idea is to let the doctors focus more on talking to the patient, which makes sense, and saves them from spending time after a visit to organize and type up their notes. Now, I've always seen in the beginning, I've had a family member who would do transcribing, medical transcribing. So they would take doctor's notes and audio notes and then type them out. And it kind of makes sense now that AI is sort of going to take that job over. Now, there's a doctor out there called Laura Igarabuza. Gotta love these names. A family medical doctor at Temple Health, and she's been using it for almost a year and said it's been a huge time saver. She said, before I started using this technology, I don't think that I realized how much mental energy I was exerting to interpret what the patient was telling me and type it into the chart at the same time, she said. This ambient listening tool uses artificial intelligence to create clinical notes from doctor patient conversations in the exam room. It was an awkward setup with the keyboard in front of her and the patient next to her. I'm kind of like trying to turn my neck to look at the patient and really like make eye contact, engage with them while I'm typing, because this is the old way that she was taking notes. She said using the AI tool lets her spend more time with the patients, which brings back the joy to medicine. And so the ambient listening clinical documentation tools evaluate and sort the information in the conversation between the doctor and patient, creating concise notes and discarding irrelevant information. Now, I have a device that's similar to this that you actually can take and put on the back of your phone, and you can record conversations and things like that. And all of this stuff, by the way, is all based on ChatGPT or Claude or any sort of AI system that is similar to those. So whatever this system is using one of those systems in the back end to figure all this stuff out. It is very similar to this device that I was using. And so what it does is you can have and some of you may use this too in meetings that you have with maybe Microsoft Teams or something like that, where the AI essentially sort of transcribes the conversation that you have and puts it all together in notes for you to go over. And to me, I think it's a huge help. And what it does is it can kind of summarize the conversation without you having to do it yourself. So you can concentrate on the meeting, you can concentrate on the conversation. More than 80% of family medical doctors at Temple Health and more than 70% of doctors at Penn Medicine use these generative AI tools according to the health systems. Jefferson Health estimates this technology saves each doctor an hour of their time each day, which is also good considering how much time we all wait in the waiting room. WellSpan Health in South Central Pennsylvania said that since adopting this technology a few years ago, doctors have saved enough time so they can see an extra 2 to 5 extra patients each day. So I don't know if that's good or bad, because then, of course, they start kind of cramming patients in. But to me, hopefully what it does is it allows that doctor to, move on from one patient to the next. After the University of California, San Francisco's health system rolled out similar technology for their doctors, the response has been ecstatic, said Dr. Robert Wachter, chair of the Department of Medicine and author of the upcoming book, A Giant Leap, How AI is Transforming Healthcare and What That Means for Our Future. He said the comments are unlike anything I've seen in technology and healthcare. While people usually complain about the technology, he said the comments are, I was thinking about retiring until this came out. Now, that's a pretty strong statement that doctors were thinking about retiring until this came out. That's interesting to me. I think that it's a great technology. I don't know if it's quite there to keep somebody from retiring from medicine, but I don't know. The health systems say the technology will become a normal part of doctors' offices in the future. Well, I think it's going to become way more than that. Not only is it going to be something that dictates notes and things like that, but it's also going to be doing diagnoses, and it's also going to be doing a lot of the surgeries itself. So this is very much the tip of the iceberg of what AI is going to be involved in medicine. I can assure you of that. Researchers at Penn Medicine recently published a journal article describing how 46 doctors across 17 specialties felt about the AI tool after using it for a few weeks late last year. When the researchers asked the doctors whether they would recommend it to their colleagues. This is interesting. Half of the group said yes, whereas the other half said no. Now, this is kind of interesting from the beginning of the article because it seemed like to me, when you're reading the beginning of the article, that everybody was into it. But now it's saying 50-50. Some said the automated note taking makes them more efficient, whereas others said they have to spend time editing the AI generated notes to make them fit their usual style. Now, I'm going to get into this in a second because this is very important. Dr. Corin Rhodes, a general medicine practitioner with the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, uses an ambient listening tool on her phone to take notes during patient visits. That is the case with Dr. Corin Rhodes, a primary care physician at Penn Medicine. She used the AI listening program in a recent patient visit. She explained that she's developed a system of writing concise notes after years of experience, and now needs to heavily edit parts of what the AI generates for her. However, she expects the program to get better in the future, to the point where it consistently saves her hours, so she wants to start learning it now. Okay, so getting into AI, and you can, by the way, while I'm doing this, in the description, we have some AI prompts that you can download, and we're going to have a lot more as time goes on that you can use. And the AI prompts that we have currently are for helping you write, whether it be a transcript, whether it be a paper, whether it be an article, that makes it humanizes the AI. It helps you take your own ideas, put it on paper, and then make it sound as if it was something that was written by a human, as opposed to just simply putting a bunch of stuff in the AI and letting it come back and write it for you. This is the problem here in this particular situation, where you have a doctor that's using AI. However, they're just putting their notes in without any sort of prompts or instruction. And if you're not training the AI and telling it what to do, or in this particular, she says she's developed a system of writing concise notes after years of experience. Well, what she needs to do is take her system on how she's created those concise notes and create prompts to the AI in order for it to create precisely what she has done in the past. So there is a way of training the AI in order to do that. But these certain people in this particular case, and it's not surprising, and it's not a slam on anybody who doesn't know this, these are things that you have to learn over time, that the AI has to be trained. You can't just simply put it in the AI in hopes that it's going to come out exactly the way that you want it. It's just not going to happen that way, at least for now. So she's a general medicine practitioner at the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania. She consults Open Evidence, a medical information platform that uses artificial intelligence to aggregate and synthesize medical research. Once again, just like any of these things, they're based on a ChatGPT or a Claude or a DeepSeek or any of these on the back end. There's really just nothing that does. There's no separate AI system on its own that does like medical transcribing or certain things. It's all based on this stuff. So these are things that you could take your notes, put it into ChatGPT with prompts and instructions, and have it do it the way and transcribe it the way that you're comfortable with in your style and your formulation or whatever you want to call it. We're already finding that there are healthcare providers who are asking for it as a condition of employment. They're saying, if I come, I really want to have access to ambient scribing, because they've already seen what the detriment of not having it looks like. Imagine this now. You're actually requiring that you have this technology before you come to work there. I remember the old days of tapes and writing things down in notes and tape recorders and things like that. And look how far we've come. So Kevin Johnson, a professor of biomedical informatics at the University of Pennsylvania, said some doctors already expect these tools to be available. He was part of a research team that found Doctors had mixed reactions to using the AI note taking program and pointed out that since the time of the surveys, program developers have released several updates to improve the software. And again, this is more prompting and things like that. The technology could go beyond just physicians. Penn, Jefferson, and Temple are planning to test these AI listening programs for nurses as well. Makes sense. But this could mean that nurses have to change the way they practice, said Colleen Malazzi, Senior Vice President and Chief Nursing Informatics Officer at Jefferson Health. For example, she explained that while doctors may be used to saying out loud what they are writing down in their clinical notes, nurses are used to assessing patients by silently noting down details like whether a patient is out of breath or not in a flowchart. Using the AI note-taking technology means a nurse would have to dictate all of their assessments. Well, you can also write these things down, and you can actually take photographs of your notes and have those notes actually go into the AI system to finish whatever it is that you're doing. So there are ways of integrating that. It doesn't necessarily have to be all dictation and conversations with the patient. We have to get them outside of this innate discomfort of saying it all out loud. You don't have to, though. You can write it down. Because it would be weird for any of us to have to say everything we do out loud, she said. And there's going to be different interactions that occur with patients. There's going to be a lot more questions. This is good because then patients are engaged in their care, but it's different. But anyway, yeah, back to, this technology is advancing to the point where a lot of this stuff you can take photographs, screenshots, things like that, input it in the AI. However, you have to have the correct prompts. So, like I said, we are developing, and you'll see them in our description. Just download that first. We have a free prompt that you can download. You'll be put on the email list, and when we start coming out with these new prompts for these different technologies, you'll be able to have them. This is a super interesting story, and how AI is changing medicine. But this, like I said before, is absolutely just the beginning of it, and it's going to transform a lot more of medicine, even more physically than just note taking. But let me know in the comment section if you've experienced this. Have you had a doctor tell you that they want to use AI to dictate notes and things like that because they're making you sign the consent form before you do it, which is good. But I'm curious to see if you've experienced that. I certainly have, and I like it. Again, because I use it. I'm involved in AI, and I think it's a great tool. And I would rather have the doctor pay attention to me more closely than busy taking notes and typing things into a computer. But let me know what you think. Okay, next story. The Super Bowl, before you know it's going to be here. And what I thought was this story would be interesting considering the fact that a lot of you are probably seeing the same thing that I'm seeing. And producer Bethany, who helps run the show, she does cat videos and things like that. You can check out her YouTube channel and DJH Studios. And that is also progressing over time. So these things are getting so unbelievably realistic that you can't tell whether or not they're real or they're AI. And SOAR, I believe, is one of them. And a lot of this, ChatGPT even is doing it. But there's a lot of these programs now that are creating these cat videos and human videos that you literally cannot tell if they're real or not. The only problem is that they can only go for a certain period of time. So you can only do, maybe 3 minutes, not even 3 minutes, but it's more like seconds, and you have to kind of put them all together. But this company called Svedka Vodka is going to be using artificial intelligence to feature its old Fembot mascot in the brand's first Super Bowl commercial. And what I thought was really interesting about this is that, when you create these characters, it's not easy to do. And they're going to get into this in this article and tell you how difficult it really is to put this stuff together. Now, once again, the AI is transforming and getting better every single day. So it's not going to become as difficult. And you can see in such a short period of time how much better this AI technology and these products have gotten, to where, again, it's really in a lot of cases difficult to tell whether or not this stuff is real or not. But it's a privately owned spirits company, Sazerac, and they acquired this Svedka vodka from Constellation Brands earlier this year. They decided to feature its new property in the Super Bowl as part of a new push for the brand. Alcohol advertising has become more competitive at the Super Bowl in recent years after Anheuser-Busch gave up its long-running exclusive rights to the category in the game. Now, I think it's more that people are not drinking alcohol as much. In fact, I think alcohol consumption is down to a record level in 2025. So I think that has something to do with it. But this is interesting. I think it's a huge chance these guys are taking, but we'll see. I can't wait now to see the video or the commercial. Quote, when we acquired Svedka, it had been declining for quite some time, said Sarah Saunders, a chief marketing officer at Sazerac, whose portfolio also includes Buffalo Trace. I've heard of these guys before. Southern Comfort, I've heard of that. And I think a lot of people have heard of Fireball. Constellation really hadn't invested behind the brand. Svedka has now returned to growth, she said. Sazerac this fall brought back Svedka's Fembot, a shapely robot that had been retired more than 10 years ago. The brand's Super Bowl debut is meant to introduce Svedka to new consumers and rebuild its brand equity with others, according to Saunders. This is really interesting. I thought this part of the story, too, is you're bringing back a robot from 10 years ago that who knows how they animated it then, because, none of this stuff, this AI was around then. And now they're using AI to bring back the robot that is going to be in the commercial. Sazerac worked with AI firm Silverside, which also helped Coke make one of its holiday spots this year to create the Super Bowl commercial. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. It took about 4 months to rebuild the Fembot and train the AI on the facial expressions and body movements that made sense, Saunders said. So this is important because, like I was saying before, now Sora and some of these other AI softwares or whatever are making it a lot easier to type things in and make stuff. But not even a few months prior, it was extremely difficult to make them do what you wanted to do. It would just kind of go on its own. So if you wanted to do like a cat video and have it break a plate or something like that, it would like blend into the plate, or it just wouldn't do what you asked it to do, and you would have to regenerate it over and over again. I'm guessing this is kind of what they had to deal with. Probably not as much where it wasn't outright working, but it wasn't quite doing the things that it wanted to do with, like it said, with the facial expressions and body movements. Now, this is where the reactions are interesting from people. The use of AI in advertising has at times triggered fury or disdain from some ad industry employees and consumers, but that hasn't stopped marketers from investing in AI and trying to figure out where it can factor into their creative work. So this is, again, it's inevitable that AI is going to take over. It's inevitable that people are going to lose their jobs as a result of this stuff. I mean, you're already seeing it here. This is the very beginning of taking, and this is going to happen in Hollywood and movies and everything else. And people are going to be fighting back against this, and they're not going to be happy with it for various reasons. But I think the main reasons are going to be is because they see that there's a possibility they may lose their job. And as the AI technology improves, as the software improves, which is happening so rapidly, that this stuff is just going to become much more easy to create and much more easy to replace actors and actresses. AI was the right tool to use thematically for an ad campaign depicting a futuristic robot. Makes sense, according to Saunders. And it did. I think it just flowed perfectly. They had a robot before, 10 years ago. They bring the robot back and they're using AI to animate it. I would say there's a misnomer that AI is a shortcut. I don't think my team has worked harder on any ad that we've created for any brand. And this is what I mean. Using AI, and we've used AI in animation, it's not the easiest thing in the world, especially because it doesn't seem to cooperate with you very much. Again, it's going to get better, but it's still extremely difficult to work with. He goes on to say it still requires hands-on direction to create the desired output using AI. Every single piece of the ad has been handheld and art directed, almost as though the AI is an animation tool. It actually has required more work, and I'm not surprised to hear that. Saunders doesn't see the human side of advertising going anywhere. We're not in a world in which we can prompt creative ideas. The ideas still have to come from the brand team. Again, makes sense. You're not going to easily have AI create these ad ideas. It's not sophisticated enough. Now, I can tell you this, that through prompts and through utilizing AI the proper way, by prompting AI, you can take not necessarily the ideas, but you can prompt it to take some of the best copywriters, the best designers from the beginning of time, and have the AI pull that information in and create ad copy or create a design or create an idea based on that, based on an idea that you've created and want to bring that in. So, and once again, this is where I think a lot of people don't understand AI, is where it's just not, you just don't put an idea and hope that it's going to come back. There's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of prompting involved. There's a lot of teaching involved. You have to train it and you have to teach it. Just like, a cat or a dog or something like that, you have to train the system in order for it to do what you want to do. And it's not always going to do what you ask it to do, because you may have to refine those prompts. You may have to add something, take something away, start all over again. There's a lot of work involved. So other Super Bowl advertisers in 2026, on a side note, because I'll be interested to see, will be the cracker brand Ritz, beverage company Liquid Death. They've had some controversy going on, and the food delivery service Grubhub, which I certainly will never use again. But let me know what you think about AI and advertising, but moreover, AI as a whole for like Hollywood and taking over with actors. I did do a story about, I forget his name now, Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman is now, he and his lawyer are suing a lot of people because a lot of people were using AI to replicate his voice for a lot of different things. And that's been going on a long time, because AI was much better at replicating voices than actual, faces and people and things like that. Long before. So people were utilizing AI, and even prior to that, they were using other systems to replicate his voice. And he is extremely upset at that. Had a lot of things to say about it, but also he thinks that Hollywood will not be taken over by AI, that there will be no actors that will replace humans in AI. And I um, beg to differ. I think that we're going to see a huge change. We're going to see there's one particular fake AI actress that's taking off. That's also in that video. If you want to check that out, subscribe and check that video out about Morgan Freeman, and I get into that. But he is kicking and screaming, and and it makes sense. A lot of people, including Hollywood, are not going to be happy with the fact that AI are going to be taking their jobs. But it's not good enough now, but it will be. But let me know what you think. Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think that AI will not take over in Hollywood? And if it does, are you cool with it, or do you think it's overall just a bad idea? Let me know in the chat in the comment section. So in this story, we're going to talk about hurricanes and the hurricane season, because the hurricane season is now over. And we got lucky this time. Jamaica did not get lucky, unfortunately. They had a tremendously bad landfall with Melissa. And what's sad about it is we didn't really hear much about the damage and destruction. If it certainly hit the United States, we would hear about it. But we didn't hear about the landfall and the destruction in Jamaica because, for whatever reason, I guess the media didn't think it was important enough to discuss. But these things affect the United States just as much as they do Jamaica. And this is a category 5. And what they talk about in this article with CNN is the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season, which officially did end on November 30th, showcased the growing capabilities of artificial intelligence in storm forecasting, which is not a surprise. AI is a octopus with tentacles, endless tentacles that get into everything from medicine to Hollywood and acting, and now determining where hurricanes are going to form and go and things like that. This season, the National Hurricane Center supplemented its usual cadre of traditional models with AI-driven models, including one developed by Google DeepMind. Google seems to have all kinds of different ones. The forecasters say the particular AI model allowed them to reach the, quote, holy grail of hurricane forecasting. Hence, what they mean by that is accurate predictions of rapid changes in a storm's intensity. Now, to me, this is the problem with. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention earlier, every article so far that I've read in all these stories has what's called an M dash in it, which means it was written by AI. Now, they may know enough to have it write properly and go through all the prompts and everything like we have in our free download. By the way, if you go into our description, you can download our free prompt packet. It's a PDF document, completely free, that you can use in order to humanize your writing, whether it be emails, papers, whatever, and make sure that it actually sounds human. It doesn't sound like AI, because AI is not going to write it properly. And they're going to use M dashes. All of ChatGPT especially will use an M dash, which is an extra long dash. It's a telltale sign that it's written by AI. And all these articles so far have been. But to me, the holy grail is not the intensity. I think it's easy for a human to figure out what the intensity of a hurricane is going to be based on the temperature of the water that it's passing over and kind of where it's located, and ultimately, how long it's going to be over open water. My holy grail for hurricanes would be the direction that it's going in. So this to me, I'm going to read this because I think it's interesting, but at the same time, they seem to be really excited about the fact that they're able to tell whether or not it's going to intensify. And that's nice to know, but AI needs to tell us precisely where it's going to go. And even moreover, whether or not we can do something in order to destroy the hurricane, in order to keep it from damaging um, enormous amounts of property or killing people if it makes landfall, like it did in Jamaica, and we had to deal with last year in the state of Florida. Forecasts that predict the path of a hurricane using traditional models have become far more accurate in recent years. I don't know about that, but intensity forecasts lagged in reliability, particularly in terms of predicting rapid intensification. Once again, I'm more concerned with path than I am intensification. The DeepMind model gave forecasters an unusually high degree of confidence that Hurricane Melissa was going to rapidly intensify about 3 days before it struck Jamaica as a catastrophic Category 5 storm. This was the first time NHC predicted a storm would become a Category 5 monster from the moment of its formation as a Category 1 hurricane. And once again, it's, I just think overall that it's easy enough to predict this. I'm more concerned with path. Predicting rapid intensification is becoming a more critical task. Now, of course, as climate change leads storms to undergo this process more frequently, including right up through landfall. Now, when you mention climate change, this is where it ends up, and of course, this is a CNN article, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But that's a red flag. When somebody's using that, just throwing climate change out there, then to me it's a red flag. And this is where you have to be very careful when it comes to, looking at this stuff, reading this stuff, because a lot of it is AI driven, AI written, and then also has an agenda to it. And so this is something I think is an interesting thing to discuss and talk about. However, you have to be careful with where these stories are coming from and who's writing them. In their forecast at the time and in recent end of season analysis, NHC forecasters specifically cited the DeepMind model as giving them increased confidence in the forecast. According to Wallace Hogsett, who serves as the Science and Operations Officer at the NHC in Miami, forecasters are becoming more accustomed to trusting the output of AI-driven models, even if their ins and outs are not as well understood as more traditional models. Those traditional models are based in physics and use complex mathematical equations to simulate how heat, moisture, wind, and more move and interact in the atmosphere. Once again, can't we use this to predict with the Gulf Stream and winds and things like that? We cannot predict path more easily. The European model and the American Global Forecast System, M-, long favored tools of the NHC, another M-, take hours to arrive at a projection and require the use of powerful supercomputers to operate them. In contrast, AI models are based on data about historical weather conditions and use that information to simulate a hurricane's likely path and intensity. Now, before saying path and intensity now, but it didn't say that before. They were more concentrated on intensity. They can be run at high resolution, in the cloud, and even on some desktop computers in just minutes. The DeepMind model is an AI ensemble, which means it is run many times at once, each with slightly varying atmospheric conditions, to determine how sensitive the forecast is to the minute, differences that may exist as a simulation begins. This is very similar to what's called a Monte Carlo method, where Hedge funds will use that along with other models to run, 10,000 plus possible scenarios to determine what kind of trade can be made. And AI can do that and can figure out, once again with other models. And I'll be coming out with those AI prompts as well related to um, determining what is likely to happen in the markets, just like the hedge funds do, to figure out, okay, in all of these 10,000 scenarios, what is the likely path of the market? What is it likely to do? And I think that's what they're doing here. Now, I will say it's pretty good, but at the same time, you also can't take into effect, especially when you're in the market, there's news events and other things that are not necessarily in the control of the AI or in control or anyone's control necessarily, which can throw off the models. And I would think that weather patterns would be similar to that, to where no matter how many miles you ran, you could run a million of them. But you can't tell me that throughout the entire history of the Earth since the beginning of time, that any weather pattern has been the same. There's probably a lot of similarities, just like markets, but it wouldn't be the same similarities in weather patterns. So I don't know how accurate this stuff could necessarily be ever, no matter what, no matter how powerful it is. This can help forecasters get a better sense of statistical certainty in the projection and help them decide how much trust to put in the results. Quote, I think it's pretty clear that these AI models are going to be useful, and they're going to be a component of the hurricane forecast process going forward, Hogshead said in an interview. In particular, the Google DeepMind model appears to be one of the top performing individual models. However, Hogshead downplayed the significance of how well the DeepMind ensemble, there's another M dash, or any other model and another M dash, performed during a particular storm, noting that what matters more is longer term performance across an entire season with multiple storms. And that's what I mean. So you need a ton of data and historical data in order to put into it to at least give you some sort of decent performance, or or be able to have any sort of reasonable predictions when it comes to these storms. And so and also I think there's probably only so much that you can pull from historical data to put into these systems to run them. A representative for Google DeepMind also cautioned against reading too much into the model's capabilities based on its performance during a single storm, such as Hurricane Melissa. So there you go. I mean, that kind of shoots down the whole idea that this system or AI system really did ultimately predict what the intensity was going to be in Melissa. I don't think it's really fair to say that it was, this massive discovery. We'll have to give it more time, but I'm sure it will. But James Franklin, a former branch chief at the NHC, did an analysis and found that the Google DeepMind ensemble beat all the other computer model guidance in terms of its track and intensity and forecast accuracy for the entire season, even though it did not perform evenly with each storm that formed. Even with that result, however, Franklin still urged caution. This is a new tool, and in some ways, it's a more difficult tool to use than the European or GFS. And I've followed these myself. The European and GFS, I'm sure you've seen these when you watch the news. If you happen to be in a hurricane-prone area, you can kind of look at them and see, okay, where are these things going to go? They looked at all these spaghetti models and things like that. But, at some point, those things, I guess they'll either be integrated into the AI or they'll be replaced by it. So he said to forecasters like him, AI models are kind of a black box. And again, they'll become more accurate over time. It looks for patterns essentially in past data. It's not tied to physics. It can come up with sort of any answer that it thinks it finds in past data. There you go. This can make it hard for meteorologists to evaluate the reliability of an AI forecast, and explains why being able to do multiple, slightly different models run simultaneously is such an important feature of the DeepMind ensemble in particular. Meteorologists are used to other ensemble forecasting models, so using an AI driven one could come somewhat more naturally for some. Challenges aside, the NHC's end of season analysis made it clear that AI is playing a role in improving rapid intensification forecasts, saying significant progress is clearly underway. So there you have it. It goes on a little bit longer, but let me know what you have to say about AI and weather prediction. So we discussed quite a few things in a short period of time, and I'm going to save I have two more stories, but I went over. I was only going to do a half an hour. Yeah, we've gone over time, but let me know in the comments section and what you have to say about using AI and weather prediction. Do you think that it's going to become advanced enough in order to predict weather? Do you think it's going to become advanced enough to be way better than any sort of meteorologist or ensemble or technology that we currently have? And at some point, is this going to be another deal where meteorologists are going to be replaced and all you have to do, you just go on your phone, AI is going to tell you what's going to happen, and you don't need somebody to explain it to you. The AI bot is going to tell you, and the AI is going to actually replace the person you see on TV with another person that's AI generated and tell you what the weather's going to be. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, AI is involved in everything, and now with predicting storms and things like that, this is just one more thing to talk about. It's an endless deal. Anyway, let me know what you think, and we're going to call it a night. But again, be sure to go into the description, download the free AI prompt template to help you write papers, help you write emails, basically take anything that you write and make it more human sounding with all the prompts that you need to know. And all the prompts are designed for whatever project you're working on, whether it be an email, whether it be a research project, whatever it might be, in order to make it much smoother, make it more human sounding as opposed to AI. And again, it's completely free. Check it out in the description. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I will be back again soon with more AI stories. They're a lot of fun to talk about. And like I said, there's an endless amount of them. So we'll see you all again very soon. Thanks for watching.